Welcome to Roadmap to 1 Million. My name is Stacey Zeal, and if you're looking to make more money, gain your time back, and rapidly grow your visibility so that you can impact way more people with your brilliance, you're in the right place. This podcast is your one-stop shop for turning your online business dreams into a reality. My main goal is to give women entrepreneurs just like you the marketing strategies, guidance, and expert insights you need to hit that $1 million milestone and beyond. Whether you're a coach, a consultant, or an online brand that wants to make a big impact, Roadmap to 1 Million gives you the actionable strategies and inspiration you need so that you can implement right away, no fluff, no fuss. So CEO, are you ready to buckle up and accelerate your growth? Be sure to follow the show and let's dive in. Get ready to uncover your Roadmap to 1 Million. Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. Are you doing all the things but hit a revenue ceiling? You're building an audience, you're creating content and making sales, but you feel like something is holding you back from your next milestone. If that sounds like you, it's time to take our What's Your Missing Marketing Link quiz, your go-to tool to identify what's missing from your marketing strategy that might be holding back your business growth. Whether it's fixing your funnel or diversifying your efforts, this quiz will pinpoint those marketing missteps and guide you to success. Take the quiz today and uncover the missing link in your path to 7 figures and beyond. So head over to staceyzeal.co/quiz because success begins with identifying and fixing those mistakes. So don't miss out. Your business deserves to have the impact you desire. Visit staceyzeal.co/quiz. That's STACYZEAL.co/quiz to get a detailed report and the resources you need to help you grow. All right, let's jump back into the episode. Hello. How is everybody doing out there in live land or podcast land, wherever you are catching this? We are going to be talking about marketing teams, y'all, because I have had so many of my clients or people in my audience have been asking and talking and wondering about who should be on their marketing team. And so whether you are going to be hiring your first team member, like that first key marketing team member, or you're going to be expanding your marketing team, right? And you're trying to figure out what does it need to look like? Who else do you need on that team? This is going to be a good episode for you to get some good information. So make sure that you are tagging some people in, make sure that you share this with some folks so that they can get this good information as well. So here's what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about how to know what your marketing team needs to look like. Who needs to be on it? What does it need to look like? All that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about the difference between having executors on your team and strategists on your team. And we're also going to talk about outsourcing versus in-house. So how do you determine whether you want to outsource something, whether you want to do it and hire it for somebody in-house, train somebody on your team how to do it, etc. That's what we're going to talk about. And so before I jump in and get into the meat of the conversation, I want to let you know that we are currently booking our fractional CMO clients for Q4. And so if you want the guidance and the support on making Q4 your best quarter yet and most lucrative quarter this year, definitely make sure you DM me now because we are booking up real fast, y'all. I'm so grateful for it, but let me tell you, we are booking up fast. So DM me now so we can talk about how we can help you with leading your strategy and running your ads for you for Q4. So definitely make sure that if you're looking to have someone run your ads for you and guide you on your overall marketing strategy for the entire quarter, definitely want to make sure you tap in and send me a DM. All right. So let's start talking about what your team needs to look like. And specifically, I'm talking about a marketing team. So, and what I mean by marketing team is the people who are actually, responsible for the marketing of your business. So that may be, yourself. That may be a virtual assistant. That may be a marketing assistant or a marketing manager or a, whole slew of people, right? And so this is what I'm talking about when we talk about teams. And when I like to think about marketing teams, and so I'll give you a little bit of background about, just me quickly. I've been on a lot of different marketing teams. I've been on marketing teams of one where I was the only person executing the marketing, like myself and the CEO were responsible for all of the marketing for the entire business. I've been on marketing teams of, 3. I've been on marketing teams of 30. And so I've been on a variety of different teams and kind of drawing from my experience with working with those brands, working with different teams. I wanted to bring you this information for y'all out there who are considering and thinking about who you need to put on your team. Like, how do you make it so that all of your marketing doesn't have to flow through you? Because right now, you are the person who's creating the content. You're the person who is, executing the marketing, you're scheduling the post, all that kind of good stuff. And that's fantastic. But if you want to get to a place where you have more time freedom in your business, where your marketing operates, whether you're on vacation or you're on stage or you're, doing a sales call or you're doing client work, right? You want your marketing to operate whether you're busy or not. Then you need to start to think about who needs to be on the team. And what I like to say is a really good marketing team is composed of executors and strategists. And I'm going to tell you what the difference is. So, an executor is someone who is actually doing the marketing, meaning they are scheduling the social media posts, they are creating content, they are someone who is researching different trends and staying on top of AI. And they're the ones going in the chat GPT and actually, getting the captions and getting the outputs and doing all the things, right? They are the person who is responsible for making sure that the world sees your marketing. And that person is very important to have on your team, because if you don't have an executor on your team, your marketing is not going to get out, right? Like, nobody's going to be able to see it. People are, you're not going to have any data, anything like that. So you need to make sure you have an executor on your team, someone who is going to take the content that you create and put it out there, right? Someone who is going to take those lives that you did and use to, run it through Opus and different tools and things like that to be able to repurpose it and to get it out, right? So you need to have an executor on your team. And so then you also need to have strategists on your team, because you get to a point where your marketing team starts to add more people, your marketing gets more complex, you have many more moving pieces. And so now you're like, I need to make sure that all the different moving pieces are moving in the same direction, right? Like, you need to make sure that email and Facebook and SEO and all, you need to make sure everybody who is executing the marketing is also marching towards the beat of the same drum, right? Like, you need to make sure that you are guiding the ship. And that's what the strategist's job is. The strategist's job is not to create reels, right? It's not that it's not for them to be actually, writing the emails, right? It's not their job to actually be, updating landing pages on your website, right? That is the job of an executor. The strategist's job is to analyze the data. It's to make sure that all of the team is aligned with what they should be doing and producing on their channel, right? Like, when I worked at Zappos, we had a marketing team of about 30 people. There were, a lot of people were responsible for execution, right? A lot of us, like, I was an executor when I was at Zappos. I was responsible for building the actual Facebook ads, working with the creative team to get the creative. I was responsible for all of that, right? And making sure that I was up to date with the latest that's going on those channels. I was meeting with Meta and TikTok and all these different platforms. That was my job as the executor when I was at Zappos. My job was to execute paid socials, to make sure the ads were going out, make sure that we had the right ads going out, making sure we were hitting goals. But what was also equally important for me as an executor was to have a strategist, which for us looked like a CMO and looked like a marketing director and stuff like that. And the reason that their role is important is because I need to understand how my channel and what I'm doing fits in with the overall goals of the business. And when my heads down and making sure that 50, 75, 100 ads are going to go out this month, and I'm making sure that the budgets are right, I'm making sure that I have, working with this person to make sure I have what I need, I can't focus on making sure that what I'm doing is then also aligned with the business goals, right? Like, that the job of the strategist is to make sure that I am doing what I'm supposed to do and tying that back to the revenue of the business and tying it back to the goals of the business. So you need to make sure you have both of those players on your team, because one person is actually making sure the stuff gets out. The other person is making sure that the stuff that does go out is actually aligned with where we're trying to go and is actually taking us to where we want to get to. And so you want to make sure that you have both of those on your team. But then the question becomes, okay, how do I know, who do I need on my team, right? Like, what does this person need to be executing? Like, how do I hire someone who can execute my marketing effectively? And what I want to say to you is that your success should dictate what your marketing team looks like. And so what I mean by that is that If you are really, really successful with advertising, meaning you're running ads and you're getting that's a big driver in your business, you want to make sure that you have an executor on your team who is really, really good at ads, right? Like that's something that you want to kind of look into. And we're in a space now where, people are very hyper specialized in kind of the marketing landscape that you're looking at now, right? Like when I started in marketing, I feel like old when I say that, but when I started in marketing, digital marketing was a specialization. And so that meant you knew a lot of different types of digital marketing, meaning you knew social media, you knew websites, you knew email, you knew ads, you knew organic social, you knew all that stuff, right? But now we're in a world where people are hyper specialized, especially if you're looking at freelancers and, that kind of thing. Like people are hyper specialized. And so it's like, do I hire a bunch of specialists or do I hire somebody who has played in a couple different areas of marketing and has maybe has a space where they're strong, right? And like that's more so what I lean towards. I lean towards having someone on your team, especially if this is your first marketing team member, someone who is on your team who can execute a lot of different types of marketing, because then that's when you start to see what works, right? Like you have someone who on your team who understands, social media, who understands, kind of somewhat understands ads, or at least understands how social media works and can be trained on how to run ads, right? Like, so you have to make sure that you're looking for those people and have those people on your team that have the skills that match with the actual business, with actual, strategies that you're going to be implementing. So if you're not running ads, why do you need somebody on your team who's an ads expert, right? Like you need someone who if email is your biggest driver, you want to get somebody who either has experience with email, maybe they're a good writer, something like that, right? So you really want to start to think about, when you're thinking about who to add to your team, take an assessment of what works on your marketing first, right? Like, and this is whether you're hiring an agency, a vendor to do something, whether you're hiring a freelancer, whether you're hiring somebody in-house. I want you to stop just thinking you need to hire somebody because what they do is cool, right? You got to hire somebody based on what your actual strategy is, and make sure that that person has the skills that align with where you're trying to go, or align with that type of strategy. And so I want to make sure that you understand that first, your first marketing hire should be an executor. If this is, this is specifically for those of you out there who are hiring the first marketing team member. They may not be your first team member, but this is the first person that's dedicated to marketing. And so the person who is dedicated to your marketing, the first one you need to make is an executor. It's someone who can actually execute the marketing, because what they do is they take that off of your plate. So you can create the content, but you're no longer scheduling the content. You can write the blog post, but you're no longer going to the website looking for the stock images, looking up, making sure the headlines right, making sure that the copy's edited. You don't have to do all that, right? You can have an executor on your team who can handle those kinds of things, and their job is to make sure that the marketing gets out. But then you also have to keep in mind that if you have an executor on your team, that means you're the strategist, right? That means you need to be the one who is leading the strategy and making sure that the executor is putting things out that is leading and directly connected to the success of the business. And I know a lot of y'all out there like, marketing is not my zone of genius, and so, yeah, that's okay, right? If marketing is not your jam and it's not your zone of genius, that's why fractional CMOs exist. That's why fractional strategists exist, right? Because you can hire somebody to come into your business and, on a part-time basis, and not have to pay them, health insurance and payroll and, all that kind of stuff. But you can have somebody to come in your business and lead your team. And that's what we do as fractional CMOs. We come in and we take over the strategic planning. We lead the team. We make sure the right people are in the right seats. We make sure that the team has the training that they need to be able to, execute the marketing strategies that we're doing. And we make sure we know, like, if we need to bring in somebody else, what does that person's skill set need to be? I had a client who came to us for a marketing sprint, which is our kind of like CMO for 30 days offer. And he was just like, I need to know who I need to hire to execute the strategy you gave me. I'm like, yeah. So what we did is we took the strategy and we created a job posting based on the strategy that we created, right? Because we need somebody who can execute this particular strategy. Let's make sure that the person has the skill set, or, that aligns with that strategy, right? And so that's what I want to impart you with. And then the last thing I want to talk about is in-house versus outsourced. So whether you want to hire somebody to execute your marketing in-house, whether you want to hire an agency to do it, or a freelancer, that's really what I want to talk about now. And honestly, I have worked most of my career, I have been in-house. So when I worked at Zappos, I worked for Zappos, the brand, right? In-house. And then, but the interesting thing was that because of how Zappos was kind of like structured, we also operated like an in-house agency because I had brands like Crocs, Adidas, all these different brands who were, who we were running ads for. And so we had to work with them and their account reps and stuff like that. So it kind of operated like an in agency, but then we also had in-house where we were working for Zappos, the brand. And so what I learned from that and what I want you to take away from that is that, you're going to have to be team both depending on your goals. You're going to have to, when it comes to your marketing, you're going to have some people on your team who you're going to have people on your team that's in-house. And you're also going to have people on your team that you outsource and bring in other vendors for. And how you make that decision really is based on one, your goals as the CEO. So do you want a tight and mighty team or do you want to outsource everything? Most of my clients want a tight and mighty team. So that's what I'm going to speak to. If you want a tight and mighty team, then I suggest that you start by keeping the core marketing in-house. So if ads are a core part of your strategy, I believe that you need to do that in-house. And the reason I say that is because, again, when I was working at Zappos, I was originally hired to oversee an agency. So I was managing 20% of our ad spend. They were managing like 80%. And in overseeing the agency, I saw like, hey, some of this stuff is not right. We're getting reports that we're hitting our numbers, but are we attracting the right client, the right customers, all that kind of good stuff. And so we ended up transitioning and moving that spend in-house. Right. And so that ended up being me, meaning I was in there every single day running ads for this brand and the brands that we were, running ads for. And so that meant that every day I was watching the ads. Every day I was pulling data. Every day I could catch something, what was going on, right? I could manage all the multiple pieces that go into running ads, right? And so I want you to take away from that and understand that agencies, freelancers, they're not going to be 100% dedicated to your business. They have multiple clients. And we hire them, sometimes because it's a cheaper option, right? It's a more cost-effective option than to have somebody on payroll and stuff like that. But if you're thinking about longevity, you're thinking about the growth, the trajectory of your business, and you don't want to be at the center of your marketing for the long term, then you start to need to think about how getting somebody in-house on your team to be able to even oversee the different agencies and different vendors that you're working with. So someone who is dedicated to your business and your marketing and making sure that you are successful while also, overseeing these outside parties that you may need to bring in. And, you sometimes will need to bring in outside parties. So for example, if, you are, if Google ads are not your thing, right? Like maybe you're running ads, Facebook ads are your jam. Y'all got that in-house, but you want to try Google, you want to try Pinterest, you want to try TikTok, right? And it's not in your wheelhouse. Yeah. Maybe you want to outsource that. Maybe you want to bring in a specialist or a freelancer to help you with that, right? Or maybe it's email, right? Like maybe email is something that, is a core piece of your strategy. It has to be done all the time, but your team is dedicated to so many other things that you need to have somebody dedicated to email, right? So yeah, maybe bring in an email marketing agency or a freelancer. So one, when you're thinking about this conversation of in-house versus, outsource, it really is about one, determining what your goals are as a business owner. Like, do you want a tight and mighty team or do you want, to kind of, have everything more outsourced? If you do want a tight and mighty team, it's figuring out what are the core drivers of business for your marketing? What are the core strategies that are driving your marketing? And hire somebody in-house to make sure that all that stuff is good to go. Make sure that that stuff is running and make sure that that stuff has all of your attention on it. But then when you're thinking about exploring other areas, you're thinking about maybe starting something that like a podcast, that's a more long-term strategy. Those kinds of things can be outsourced because there are things that you're trying out. There are things that may not pay off right away. There are things that need somebody who has a really specialist, very specific skill set to learn to cut through the noise and make sure that you can, do it right the first time and, and not have to go through that whole fumble of testing and trying to figure out how to work the channel, right? Like if you want somebody who's hyper specialized in a specific area and you want to go faster, that's when you want to hire somebody when you want to outsource it. But if you are willing to take the time to put the investment in somebody, to train somebody on how to do things, to give them the education and the upskilling they need but you have that person who is dedicated to your business for a specific period of time, during their day, that is something that's also very beneficial for you. And so I hope that this has been helpful for you. Definitely make sure you're watching your profit and all that kind of stuff when you think about these conversations about marketing. But either way, I hope that this was very helpful for you in understanding who you need to have on your marketing team. And so if you are ready to bring in a strategist, meaning you have an executor on your team and you are ready to bring in a strategist and help to lead your team through Q4, you and your team through Q4, definitely reach out to me, send me a DM, or you can book a growth call. Go into our site at stacyzeal.co/call. And when you go there, you'll be able to book a growth call with me. We'll be able to get on the phone and chat about what your needs are. But we are almost booked up, right? Like we are booking for Q4 right now. And so if you are looking to work with us for Q4 and have someone who is dedicated to your strategy, dedicated to running ads for you, because we've built that into our packages now, you definitely want to make sure you reach out to me so we can talk about getting you onboarded for October so that we can work with you all the way through the year. So that's what I got for y'all. I hope that y'all found this helpful. If you're watching the replay, definitely let me know that you're watching it. If you found something, a good key takeaway from this, definitely make sure you either, DM me, leave a review, something like that. We really appreciate those kinds of things. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. I hope that this was helpful. I'll see y'all next time. OMG, that episode was packed with gems. Are you ready for more? Head over to stacyzeal.co/podcast to get the show notes and to sign up to get our top 5 podcast episodes to help you streamline your marketing so you can make this your $1 million year. Head over to stacyzeal.co/podcast.